how to buy and sell shares on the internal exchange at the Angel Business Club. Hi there, on this video I run through in pretty in-depth detail how to trade your shares on the internal member-to-member exchange at the Angel Business Club. This is really quite an advanced tutorial, more for people who want to be active with their investments rather than people who want to just be passive. But if you're interested in learning how to trade the shares on the internal exchange, keep watching this video. One of the huge benefits of the Angel Business Club over all the other crowdfunding sites out there is that the Angel Business Club has an internal share exchange. That means, as members, we can buy and sell shares peer-to-peer. This is not a public exchange, this is a private exchange, because remember, we're getting shares, or the club is investing in companies that are privately owned companies in the hopes that these go on to become the huge, big next corporate success stories. But normally, when you get investments in private companies, if you go through other crowdfunding sites, you have no way of exiting and realizing your money in those shares unless the company gets taken over or floats on a stock market. Now, traditionally, startup companies and other crowdfunding websites have a very poor success rate. The Angel Business Club is very careful in the businesses it selects to invest in, because it knows that the success of the club is based on the success of those companies, because we as members pay a monthly subscription to the club. So as soon as club members decided, yeah, the investments the club is making are awful, people are going to cancel their subscriptions. Whereas on other crowdfunding sites, individuals on those sites make their own individual investment decisions, and that's it. Once the money's gone in, it's effectively lost unless those companies succeed, which, like I said, most companies don't. So we've got this real double, triple benefit, as it were, with the Angel Business Club. They make the selections. We can just treat it like a savings plan on steroids. We don't have to get involved. The club has its interest to make sure it makes good investments, and also the businesses that it invests in. That's part of how the Angel Business Club operates. We don't just, or rather the club doesn't just invest money for money's sake. It's not raising money by simply providing funding for businesses. That's again what all the other crowdfunding sites out there do. The Angel Business Club is taking equity stakes and wanting to help accelerate the growth on those businesses. And from that very clear reason for wanting to get good results for members of the club. Okay, enough of me talking now. Let me show you how to actually trade. Now again, most people in the Angel Business Club are just there treating it like a savings plan and don't want to get involved. So in terms of the day-to-day activity of the shares and the businesses and things like that, and that's absolutely fine. So if you're happy with that, then fine, don't carry on watching the rest of this video. But if you want to know, if you're more of an active investor, an active person, then hopefully this video will explain and show you how to actually trade your shares. So fairly in depth, but essentially you go through to the companies section in the Angel Business Club back office and click on trading. This brings you through to the trading section and allows you to buy and sell shares. Now, not all of the companies are listed in here for trading. Most of them are. At the moment we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 different companies listed here. There are reasons why some companies wouldn't be listed here. For instance, if a business that the club has invested in has already floated on a stock market, then those shares are traded publicly. So we're not trading those internally, they'd be traded publicly, and for that you'd use the stock trading tool here, which is a totally separate feature. There may be a reason that a company is not listed on the internal exchange as well. It could be they're currently raising external finance and therefore the club wouldn't list those shares internally for peer-to-peer trading. And also if a company is about to be listed on a stock market, that would go what's known as a closed period, whereby there wouldn't be any allowed trading. That would be seen as insider trading, and that wouldn't also be allowable. But generally speaking, most companies that the club is invested in are available for trading here in the back office. So here you see a list of the different companies that are available. So Eurobrands, MyCap, SmartTrade, Rockstar and so on, and this will change over time depending as the companies that the club invests in, but just giving you a snapshot right now as I'm recording this video. you see here the offers. This is the number of buy and sell offers. So these are offers to either buy or sell shares. So if you look on Eurobrands, there's 109 offers in there at the moment. So reasonable amount of offers. Rockstar 48, Smart Trade 33 and so on. You then get the latest trade price. So if someone's selling, someone else is buying at that price. So it's just a trade price. The last trade that went through on Eurobrands was at 4 euro cents. You've then got the bid and ask price. So people bidding, these are the prices that people are wishing to buy at, and then the ask price, these are the offers where people are willing to sell at. So this is what you call the spread on a share price. Quite big spreads, but you can put a share in between these spreads, and therefore you can still trade. But at the moment, generally speaking, quite a big spread, and that's due to liquidity. There's not a huge liquidity at the moment, but there is, as you will see, the opportunity to sell your shares. If you're wanting to raise some capital, raise some money, then you can do that. Ideally, you want to be looking at a 5 to 10 year view with angel investing, but if you want to have a quick exit, then you can do that. If you decide, I'm really not convinced Smart Trade App's going to have much future, and you want to sell your shares, then you can go and do that. Then over on the right hand side, you've got your holdings. It shows you how many shares you've got. So let's give you a real example here. Let's say I've got 782 shares at the moment in Smart Trade App, and I wanted to either buy or sell. So I click on the name Smart Trade App. That then takes me through to the specific page for Smart Trade buying and selling shares. First of all, you'll see there's a chart here which shows the pricing on the shares where they've exchanged at over the last few weeks and months. You can expand that and look back at the last, it's about 3 months worth there. So 1st of November 2018 right the way through to the 20th of January 2019. And you can see how the price has varied here over time. Now, let's scroll down the page here. One other thing to note here, we've got an item here called strike price. Now, this is what would be classed as fair value of the shares agreed both by the club and by the company. So that's £4.78. So an independent accountant would give a valuation on Smart Trade App, and there's a whole different methodology as to how they come up with valuations, but that is considered a fair price both by the club and by the business. Now, just whilst we're on this here at the moment, the strike price, a business is not going to want to overestimate the value of their company, because that will affect future fundraising or a flotation price. It needs to be a fair and realistic value, and the club wouldn't invest in a business unless it perceives it to be fair value in the first place anyway. So the fair price on shares at the moment on Smart Trade are £4.78 per share. Now, further down here we can see bid buy offers on the left hand side and ask sell offers on the right hand side. So let's run through these in detail. The buy bid, these are people wanting to buy shares in Smart Trade App. So these are members who are getting their shares anyway with Smart Trade App. At the moment there's been no shares issued in Smart Trade for a little while. So there are people here saying, well, I'd like to buy some more shares, or I'd like to get hold of some shares if they haven't, if they're a newer member and haven't had any shares yet issued in Smart Trade. So they can come into the internal exchange and say, well, I'll put an offer in. I'm happy to pay. You can see here at the moment, today there are two offers here. One is for someone willing to buy 3 shares at £2.80, and another offer to buy 1 share at £2.80. So in total 4 shares at £2.80. So it's just over £10 with £11.20 worth of shares in total, or they're willing to pay £11.20 for 4 shares. So if, as a member, I wanted to sell my shares, I could either sell them instantly to these two offers. So I could tick these boxes here and click sell selected. So I could sell 4 of my 782 shares right now to other members of the club. I don't know who those members are. You know, it's a confidential exchange here, but clearly someone is willing to buy some shares at £2.80. So I could sell my shares right now straight away to those members if I wanted to. Alternatively, I might say, well, I don't want to sell my shares for as little as £2.80. I want to sell my shares, let's say, at £5. So on the right hand side you can see the sell and ask offers of people who have said, well, I'm not prepared to pay sell down at these prices, but I'm prepared to pay at the sell rather at these higher points. So for instance, there's someone willing to sell 15 shares at £3.98, another one's willing to sell 5 at £4, and this is how a true exchange works. You've got the buyers and the sellers, and what is the true value? What's the determined price? And essentially anything on this planet is determined by, what is the value of your house? What is the value of your car? It's what someone else is willing to pay for it. And so you could argue, and this is what a public exchange would do. Share prices are constantly moving up and down on a public exchange. Now, we have a much lower liquidity here. We're not talking vast quantities of shares, but as the club expands, then I'd expect the volumes to increase here, and you would start to get a tighter bid-ask price and so on. But we're still a relatively small club. But as liquidity increases, then that's going to be to everyone's benefit. But again, let's not get sidetracked here. I was illustrating the point. If I wanted to sell some of my shares at £5, how would I do that? Well, I would come in here. So if I'm not willing, let's remind you here again, if I'm not willing to sell at £2.80, although I could instantly right now sell at £2.80 4 of my shares, and I would receive that cash in my cash account. So this exchange is open 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And so if you wanted to raise some cash and sell some of your shares, you can do that in the internal exchange. But let's say I wanted to sell, but I didn't want to sell until, I want to say, well, I think my shares are worth £5. So I come in here and I would sell Smart Trade App shares, and I'm going to put an offer to sell, and it can expire in 1, 3, 5 or 7 days. So I could have that offer to sell valid for 7 days, and let's say I want to sell 10 of my shares. I then say, what price am I selling at? I'm going to sell at £5 per share. That's my offer I want to make for someone else. If they want to buy my shares, I'm not willing to sell them for less than £5. So I now click to get an SMS confirmation code. This is another level of security by the club that we have, and I'll wait for that code to come through. And there we go, it's just come through, and I can put in my confirmation code now on my mobile phone, and I click the confirm button. So that's confirmed that I am who I say I am, even though I've logged into my back office anyway. It's just another level of security. And then I click add offer. So my offer is to sell 10 of my shares at £5. You can see here in green, when you're logged into your own account, you'll see your own offers in there. Now, no one else will see that as green. It's just so I can quickly see where my offers are, either bid or sell offers. So there it is, sat at £5. I'm willing to sell 10 of my shares. Now, again, I'm not actually wanting to sell my shares for £5. So I'm going to go and cancel that order. I just click delete here, and again it shows you the strength. Even if you make a mistake, you can go and correct that. Unless someone quickly nips in there and buys those shares, then you're safe to be able to do that. So that hopefully gives you a fairly good illustration of how to buy and sell shares on the internal exchange. Like I said, the things to be aware of are liquidity. You're not always going to be able to sell all of your shares. So for instance, at the moment I've got 782 shares, which is about £3,500 worth. And at the moment, as you can see here, there's about 200 shares willing to be purchased. So I could sell 200 of my 782. So 200, let's say an average of price about £2.50. So I could raise right now, what's that, about £500 right now, just by going and selling to these current bid prices. Then there'll be some more come in, other people clearly wanting to buy Smart Trade App shares. So there is a liquidity issue. However, having said that, you've just seen I could raise £500 right now within the next few minutes into my cash account, and then you can withdraw that on a weekly basis. So you do have access to your money in that regard. The other thing just to highlight, yes, these are private shares. This is not available to the general public. It's only available to members of the club. It's a peer-to-peer facility, but it does therefore allow you to have the opportunity to exit some shares before any what's called a liquidity event. So a takeover, a flotation on a stock market, you have that facility and that ability within the Angel Business Club to be able to buy and sell shares, which is unique. It's absolutely brilliant, and again, part of the big benefit of being a member of the Angel Business Club.